Good day, everybody. We have two unique guests back here on the show. Dr. Bob Bivacqua is here, and we have a breadfruit of all things, and that is very, very apropos, Doc, because you are actually giving a presentation, as I understand it, about breadfruit and its connection to our island way of life. So, Day, thanks for joining me.
Exactly. On Sunday at 2 p.m. at the National Park, there will be a public presentation on breadfruit, its history on Guam, its uses, and its special significance at Assen, on the major part of the national park.
Mm-hmm. And what is, without giving too much away about, the presentation and everything like that, what makes the breadfruit so distinct and perhaps so unique to our culture?
It arrived 4,000 years ago on the same canoe as the earliest Chamorros. So their history goes hand in hand for 4,000 years. Mm-hmm. And so an extremely important food and medicine and fodder for the Chamorro people.
Mm-hmm. Who would be the primary audience for your talk? Because I'm thinking, primarily it's going to be people that are into history, cultural advocates, and everything like that. But it sounds like the information has a very, very broad range.
Very broad. First, think Assen Beach Park. That's the major piece of property for the national park. Attracts 400,000 visitors a year. That's locals and visitors from abroad. And so the park is upgrading the attractions there. And a trail has been built on Assen Ridge. The trail's already in place, and now the steps are being put in educational signs identifying the native plants. And that ridge is famous for a grove of 500 breadfruit trees, lemai.
Very nice. Okay. One of the things that, as someone who grew up on Guam, we would see breadfruit all the time. Like they fall off the trees. Typically they fall very, very far, so they'll crack, they'll bake in the island sun. They have a rather distinct smell to them, let's just say, like when it's real, real hot and everything. But as you're going to cover in this thing, these are very honored, very important parts of our history.
Yes, and I'll show you how to pick them before they get smelly.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear that. So what are some of the things that maybe people don't know about breadfruit?
Okay, what people might not know about breadfruit. It's a very good home for native species. So if you visit Assen Ridge and you go amongst the breadfruit trees, you can see native snails. And it's one of the few places on the island you can see the native snails. They're just tiny little things, but they're beautiful, and they probably were made into like beads, into jewelry type of things in ancient times.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One of the other things, if you can hold this up again,
sure,
please, Doc, is, our camera got a good shot of that. One of the things that's interesting about breadfruit is this is a beautiful grown fruit right now. Can we say this is like fully mature, or it's still maturing at this point?
It's still maturing. It
Okay.
has a couple weeks to go for most cooks.
Okay.
But if you're hard up, you could eat it.
Oh, there you go. Or hungry enough, I guess.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's so unique is the way, because of those ridges and everything like that, obviously it gets this very unsightly, fungus, or it retains, spider webs I know can get caught in there. You get sea spray and dust and everything like that. So they're not always the most pretty things to look at. Nonetheless, they are very delicious.
That can be improved upon. If you pick a breadfruit, as soon as you pick it and the stem is a fresh cut, you turn it upside down so the stem is pointing down, and you leave it this way for an hour. And then the white sap will drain out, so you avoid this kind of discoloration. Mm-hmm. Then another good step is to put it in cool water for 15 minutes. And that kind of cleans up the surface, and that cools the interior of the fruit so it'll have a longer shelf life. It'll last weeks mm-hmm. instead of just days.
Well, that's nature's dishwasher right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the best ways to prepare it now that we've talked about, like actually getting it all clean and getting it prettified and everything like that? If we're going to make this for proper dishes and everything like that, how should we cook this?
You could think of it in terms of like potatoes, though it's more nutritious than potatoes. You can boil it, you can bake it, you can fry it, you can make chips, you can cook it with coconut milk. It's a very versatile food.
All right.
You can do many, many things with it.
Sounds like we were doing a rendition of a Forrest Gump there for a second about shrimp. Okay, so you said it's like a potato, but this is not considered a starch per se.
No, it is a starch.
It is a starch, okay, proper, okay. So again, if you can just tell us where we need to be and how we can take advantage of this wonderful information about the breadfruit.
First, I want to show a distinctive feature.
Sure.
This is the leaf of a breadfruit tree. A characteristic are these lobes, these deep lobes. Mm-hmm. That's how you identify lemai, the preferred breadfruit. Mm-hmm. And all these things will be discussed on Sunday at 2 p.m. at the Visitor Center at the National Park, just outside the gate to the main naval base by the Black Submarine.
Okay, question now that I think about it. again, having grown up here, have we ever had a dangerous shortage of breadfruit on Guam, or have we ever had too much of a surplus where we say, everybody please go out and pick some because we're getting overrun?
It's seasonal, and it tends to be productive in the spring months, like beginning next month and extending into June or July. Those are the most prevalent months for breadfruit. But a very beneficial thing about breadfruit is invasive species have not attacked it. So if you visit the grove of 500 trees at Assen, they're largely insect-free, disease-free, and they're thriving, they're doing really well. Very different picture than, say, the coconut palm.
Oh, very nice. And as you just said, turn it upside down for a few minutes, wash it in cold water for a few minutes, and you're good to go.
Yes.
All right. Well, Dr. Bavacqua, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason.
You're a gentleman and a scholar about the breadfruit, and that is not a bad thing to be. We appreciate it. All right, please stay tuned, everybody.